What's been on your mind lately? Something that's just been burning in the back of your brain nonstop. For me, it's been darkness. Creativity can be a mysterious thing. It seems to come and go as it pleases, and as artists and craftspeople, we try to control and harness creativity as much as we can. But no matter how hard you try, there will always be times when you feel left in the dark. Times when your inner flame gets doused, and your sketchbook pages insist on staying blank. Okay, yes, you caught me. I've hit some creative block lately. A lack of inspiration is a natural and unavoidable part of being an artist. And because creative block can be caused by so many different reasons, we can't really control when it will strike. But I believe everything that is out of our control has the potential to be either an obstacle or an opportunity, sometimes both. I choose to take this moment of darkness as an opportunity to document my journey as I attempt to pull myself out of creative block and re-find my spark. I have no idea where that will take me, but I have a feeling it's going to be quite the adventure. And I invite you to come along with me as I attempt to trace the complex thread of inspiration and kindle a creative flame. It has been raining so much lately. The transitional phase between autumn and winter seems to be taking a bit longer than usual this year, as I am still awaiting our first snowfall. But like usual, this time of the year is also when the days become shortened. The sun sets at around 4 to 4:30 p.m. And this rapid shortening of days, combined with the cloudy, rainy weather, makes it feel like I'm living in a perpetual state of evening, and the lack of serotonin is hitting me like a wave of exhaustion, taking with it much of my energy and motivation to create and be productive. This seems to be the source of my creative block this time. I know these feelings will eventually pass, as they always do, by themselves, especially as we head deeper into winter. The cold and the snow often gives me a new jolt of inspiration, but that is not where we are right now. And any amount of time of feeling uninspired and unmotivated can provide a real challenge, especially if your work schedule depends on your creativity and productivity on a daily basis, or if you've just got some big dreams to chase. So I wanted to try to do whatever I could to help refuel my inspiration. But before I could figure out what to do, I first had to analyze my current situation. After all, if I had an idea of how to get myself out of creative block, I probably wouldn't have it in the first place. I believe art and our ability to create it is intertwined with all of the other aspects of our life. So often, analyzing your current life condition will be a much more powerful tool in solving your creative block than trying to look up some random drawing prompts online and hoping inspiration will be bestowed upon you. But hey, sometimes those things work too, so I'm definitely not knocking it. The weather seemed to be playing a big part in my lack of motivation and inspiration, and I can't control the weather, nor would I ever want to. Life would be way too boring, I think. But simply acknowledging and accepting this factor helped me to realize that even though I couldn't control the weather, I could definitely control the way that I work. Maybe I could find a workaround. I didn't have the spark for dedicating myself to a full original painting, but who says I needed to? Capturing footage is also a lot more difficult when I don't have natural daylight, or so I assumed because that was the way I always worked. Perhaps this was an opportunity to learn a bit more about filming and find creative ways to shoot even when the sun is down. This video is kind of the experiment for that, by the way. And when I considered some other events that also happened in my life recently, especially ones that brought me joy, a simple solution for what I could do today practically presented itself. So let's give it a try. Over Thanksgiving, I had the pleasure of watching the movie Castle in the Sky from Studio Ghibli for the very first time, and I absolutely loved it. I was glued to the screen the entire time, fascinated by the story, the visuals, the music, and the action. It is my new favorite Ghibli film, beating my longtime favorite, Spirited Away. And one of my favorite visuals from Castle in the Sky is the part that shows Patsu's house, Patsu being one of the main characters. It's early in the morning and he goes up to the rooftop and starts playing a song on his trumpet. Even though the colors in that scene aren't as extravagant and vibrant as perhaps you would expect from a Ghibli film, there was just something so simple and innocent and calm about that scene that just really connected with me. So I grabbed some screenshots and made these sketches. Studies and fan art are great ways to get yourself to draw something when you can't think of any original ideas. You don't have to be very motivated or inspired to make a nice piece of art even. All you need to do is just sit down, maybe throw on some music, and go through the motions of trying to copy the image in front of you. And at first, I thought I would then paint over these sketches with gouache, and this video would become one of those Studio Ghibli screenshot painting vids. But in that moment, once I started with the pencil, I realized I didn't want to put it down. The tiny spark of inspiration had begun, and I decided to see if I could kindle it into a flame. Since I was enjoying sketching the compositions from this film, and I still wasn't really having any of my own ideas, I decided to turn to some of my own photos I had taken recently. I have tons and tons of photos and video clips that I take for these videos and for art reference that I frankly end up never using, so I pulled some up, just small moments I had captured during the last few weeks of November, and let the pencil take me away. Hello. Doing these sketches are bringing me so much joy right now. I think one of the hardest things to do sometimes with art is to literally just get started, to just do it. It's something that every artist will tell you. It's like, oh, you want to make art? Then just go do it. Just grab a pencil and start drawing. But I don't know, there's just, our brains are so strange, and sometimes it just prevents us from starting, from doing the things that we love to do. But once you get started, magic happens. I'm looking at these sketches right now and they are just bringing me so much joy. They're not because they're perfect, they're not by any means. They're just sketches, but they're so much more than that at the same time. These are moments from my life. I was there when I shot these reference photos. I remember how I felt. I remember the weather, the sounds. It's so easy to just forget these things, but somehow when you just sit down and you draw and you sketch, it just, everything comes flooding back, and it really makes you feel alive, I guess. Or at least remind you that you have lived, if that makes any sense. was stranded on an island and I could only bring one art material with me, it would be a pencil and a sketchbook. I guess that's two materials, but I mean, you can do everything with pencil. You can do lines, you can do shading, you can smudge it around and do textures and shading and softness. It's the first material I ever used. It's the thing that got me into drawing because it's all I had. It was actually this pencil that I started drawing with. I'm kind of sentimental about it. It's a like party favorite pencil. It costed like 20 cents. I refill the graphite with this Pentel super high polymer lead, but the pencil itself is super duper old. My first entire year of being an artist, like calling myself an artist, I exclusively worked with this one pencil in a super basic like $1 sketchbook, but I drew every single day, like every single moment I could get, I was drawing, and it brought me so much joy and so much purpose. And so every time now when I sketch, I am connected to that younger version of myself. It reminds me of why I draw, why I make art, that just innocent spark. And I think connecting with that is so important. Whatever that is for you, never forget to revisit it and remind yourself of it. Anyway, before I just quit for tonight, I really just wanted to talk a bit about it, I guess. I don't talk like this, like live. I mostly do narration, but sometimes you have to just capture that moment, and right now I feel so much joy and I just want to share it. It's not about making a perfect piece of art. That's not always the thing that brings you the most joy. Sometimes it's just something as simple as little moments, little sketches. A few days later, my mind still lingered on those sketches, and after taking some scans of my work, I was looking at the reference photos again, and that's when something caught my attention. In this photo I took of this big gear stuck in the ground, which I thought was very interesting, I noticed that there was a name embossed on it. C.A. Lawton de Pere. Pierre? Perry W? I didn't really give much thought to it while I was sketching, but now it had me curious, and I wondered what it meant. So I looked it up on the good old internets and discovered that it is a still operating metal casting company. My guess is they casted this gear. I went to their Instagram. I guess in the 21st century, even metal casting companies have an Instagram. And my eyes immediately locked onto this picture. The contrast of light and dark, the white hot molten metal, it looked like something straight out of a fantasy film. And that is when it happened. The little flame of inspiration exploded into a full-on fire. I found myself totally drawn in and absorbed in learning about metal casting, which is an art form and a skill that I never gave thought to before. This looks just like my gear. What a coinky-dink. During my research, I came across this short documentary on YouTube called The Art of Emono, which is about Japanese metal casting for cast iron teapots. And it blew my mind watching these craftsmen go from actual dirt and crusty iron sand to fire and sparks and lava to popping out this stunning, tranquil little teapot. This documentary was so pretty. Shout out to Edwin Lee from Fallout Media. Well, you deserve like way more subscribers, dude. This is like such a professional video, holy moly. I'm gonna leave a link to this documentary in the description box of this video because you guys should definitely go check it out. Creativity truly is a mysterious thing. It comes and goes as it pleases. But with enough patience and openness, sometimes inspiration will find you in the most unexpected places. And suddenly, you find yourself going on an adventure, down roads you never would have imagined. I had finally found my spark, and it felt good. In that moment, I knew I wanted to somehow capture the spirit of metal casting with my art. But now the question is, how?